today I would like to introduce to you Christian. He is practicing homeopathy, but not only that, he's teaching new homeopaths how to practice. But I think the best will be if he could say a few things about himself.
Okay. Hi. So I've been in practice for about 30 years, a bit more now. And I run a teaching college in Chichester in the UK, down the south coast. And most of my early work was done in the children's clinic in Brighton, which is where I met Grace, which involved a lot of mental health issues with adolescents, particularly, amongst other things, because homeopathy has a particular slant on mental health, because the remedies incorporate treating mental health. Ultimately, homeopathy really sort of unites the physical state, physiology, with our mental state and doesn't really differentiate between the two. So our remedies are targeted at both the mind and the body. But you wanted me to say something about what homeopathy is?
Well, you could just a little bit about maybe Hachman and how all this started. If somebody is not completely familiar, that would be nice.
Okay. So, in the 1840s or 1850s, Samuel Hahnemann was a doctor in Germany, and he decided that Western medicine at the time, with the use of heavy drugs and particularly toxic ones, were having problematic effects on his patients. So he looked through his notes and tried to come up with an idea of other ways of looking at health. And because he was interested in the medicines himself, he had a sort of, eureka moment. It's a bit difficult because I sometimes think they get retrofitted onto the story, but nonetheless, the idea is that he knew about, in his day, the main treatment for malaria was quinine, still partly, I don't think they use it so much now, which is the bark of the cinchona tree. And what he realized when looking at the notes made by, I think it was an earlier herbalist, is that the poisoning effects of quinine are almost identical to the symptomatic picture of malaria itself, because malaria has a particularly odd quaternary fever. So it's got 4 different variations of fever, and they modulate in a particular way. And bizarrely, the plant produced very, very similar symptoms. So his eureka moment was that essentially he's felt then that the best possible option when we treat people is to come up with a remedy or a substance that matches the symptom picture of our patients as closely as possible. Now, he went a step further because in order to find out what remedies do to people, he actually gives remedies to healthy people. Okay. In what we would call in homeopathic terms approving. So he would get a bunch of people, in theory this is, and then all those people get given the remedy and they don't know what it is. And then over a certain time period, more and more people start developing symptoms related to the substance. So we now know what the effect the substance has on a healthy human being. And what was noteworthy is that the substance not only produced physical effects, but it also produces psychological effects. So our remedy pictures are both physical and psychological. And what that really means is that and because of the way that homeopathy looks at things, it doesn't have a sort of the same physiological or physical basis that Western health has. So, and it's not looking for a remedy to cure headaches.
Okay.
So, like in the West, they may try drugs and take trials with people they're only interested in the headache. So they'll give them the drug, yes, and they ignore all the other symptoms, positive or negative, yes, but they only want to know, did it work on those cluster headaches, for example?
Okay.
But what homeopathy says, I just want to know what the remedy does to healthy people. There are no directions. I don't want it just to cure heart. I just want to know what the substance does.
Okay.
So we give the substance and then we watch and wait and interview the patients or the provers who are taking it and then see what results they come up with.
But what if you give to actually people with sick people? I don't want to use this word, but somebody who has got problems.
Well, one of the provers might inadvertently be, so what actually tends to happen if we give, let's say we take 30 people off the street and we all start giving them the remedy, some people might get better.
Okay,
in
those
that
who
proving.
actually had a problem.
Yes.
Okay.
But some people who don't have a problems may start developing
The problems.
okay,
problems. But that will go away.
It will go away. No, it's a
nobody
temporary. It's
should
a sort of
do
no,
Yeah.
really not. It's a temporary sort of functional
Yeah.
state, and actually, arguably, in theory, the remedies work immediately as soon as you take them,
Okay.
and then there's like a ripple effect throughout the person. Okay, I'll come back to sort of the previous, but we have basically what we're sort of saying in terms of what you were asking earlier on prior to this starting, by the way, about mental health issues.
Yes.
What's unique about homeopathy in terms of treating psychological stuff is that our remedies have psychological profiles. So every remedy, there is a psychology associated with it, which means that, and psychology is obviously important in terms of the picture. So I might have 10 people to come see me with a cold, and I might give the irritable person a different remedy from the very tired and sleepy one, or the very cheerful one, if you're going to get cheerful with colds. Each one of those people may end up getting a different remedy because their psychological states are different. Arguably, I would say the psychological state and the physiological state are utterly intertwined on the most philosophical level. I'd actually say you can't separate them, the mind and the body. Really, homeopathy, the ultimate homeopathic worldview is that you cannot separate those things. They are just extensions of a deeper aspect of self that has been disturbed. Okay, so this goes back to, so homeopathy really says that there is a part of ourselves that is neither physical nor psychological.
Okay.
That is the bit that gets disturbed in illness, and it then expresses that pattern of illness or its pattern of disturbance, let's say, through the body. So let's say you encounter an event X, it doesn't really matter what that is, the body might respond by tightening. But it's like the body, that tightening on that central disturbance expresses itself in the muscles, even in the muscles of the eyes, perhaps. But it would also express itself as a sort of tightness psychologically. Yes, and my job as a homeopath is to go recognize the tightness in both my patient's physiology and psychology, and try and find a remedy that we know produces a similar tightness in other people.
And of course, if you would by any chance make mistake for the remedy, no harm done.
No, so homeopathy, because homeopathy is diluted, and succussed is a complicated. It's not complicated, but this is the dilution of homeopathic remedies is essentially what makes Western medicine in part turn away. So they are diluted beyond. For most of the time, when I'm giving a remedy, I give, let's say, we have funny names from about 30C and upwards. You won't find an atom of the substance in a 30C. It's so diluted and succussed, which is bang on the table.
That's why doctors said it's just placebo.
Yes,
it doesn't exist.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
But that's a problem for West, yes, and sort of a problem for homeopaths, sort of. But what really homeopathy really says that only similar substances, the more similar a substance pattern, the remedy that I can find is similar to your pattern, the more similar, the less I need to give.
So this is like I forgot,
cures like. So what that really means is, if we went back to the proving where we've got 30 people and I'm going to give them a substance, only the ones who are have any sort of similarity to the similar pattern in the remedy are going to produce any symptoms at all.
Okay.
So you can give, a lot of remedies to people who have no similarity, or it probably won't do anything. Only if you're in the right ballpark, enough will it start to sort of have an impact.
Okay, so coming back to mental health.
Yeah.
Because obviously I understand it is very much psychological, but let's say schizophrenia also can be very much physical. There is maybe some nutrients missing or even vitamin C,
Yeah.
which they don't want to give them, some of them. So how could homeopathy help?
Okay, so if I was taking the case of someone with schizophrenia, if I might have 5 patients with schizophrenia and they all might have a different remedy.
Okay.
Okay, the West
It's
is
very
obsessed.
individual.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's all about individualization of medicines. The West is all about is almost diametrically opposed on this. The West is all about measuring and diagnosing and saying this person has schizophrenia, and therefore they need drug A.
And they all get
And
the
they will
same.
all schizophrenia.
Yeah.
I mean, there are maybe
Yeah.
6 or 7, perhaps, if we're lucky, to be honest. Yes,
Yeah.
but they're probably given the first major one first, and then the next one. But there is not much distinguishing between the two. They may have, presumably, an agitated form of schizophrenia who may get one drug. So there is a tiny bit of variation. Yes, let's say very somnolent. Someone's more sleepy and withdrawn. Perhaps they might get 2 different drugs. I'm not too sure whether they would. To me, there are on my side of the fence, having treated some people with mental health issues, it's like their drug regimes. It's like, I think I could be a doctor. It's not that complicated. They're only about 4 drugs. It's like, how difficult? Do you know what I mean? I am being slightly cocky, but I do think that it's fairly limited, the responses. All the work in Western medicine goes on diagnosis and the production of drugs to fulfill the diagnosis. Why? Because it makes the drug companies a lot of money if they say that the main focus on the treatment is in the drug itself. And they want, therefore, to say we're going to give one drug to multiple people, hundreds and hundreds of people. So if you flu, for example, they'll have a vaccine that they can give to millions of people. Homeopathy is the antithesis of that. It's like, unfortunately, the flu epidemic for me, I have to see every single person. And therefore treating them accordingly, which is where homeopathy doesn't work very well. So homeopathy doesn't work very well as a communal medicine. It is very, very individualized, and that's just so. Yes, it doesn't treat epidemics in the same way.
What about I know it's not side effect. This is the wrong English.
Yes.
But do you remember when you gave me the last time? I had terrible. I had a really horrible night. So we could say that was the side effect. But I understand that after that I felt so much better.
Yeah.
So it's fine. I knew it's homeopathy doing to me. I maybe survive. But somebody with schizophrenia and with all kind of things in their brain, would that be a danger, maybe?
I mean, I don't think so, no. But it's more like understanding. So I need to sort of really flip probably our conventional sort of understanding of health on its head. So as a homeopath, I utterly trust the body at all times. So, and my feeling is the body is always trying to work to keep the patient in the most optimal health that it possibly can do, given the various circumstances that it has to work in. Okay? Circumstances aren't ideal. Life's not ideal. Okay? I would actually say that symptoms are just the body's attempts to adapt and address external influences.
So they're not consuming those side effects. So
no, sorry, no. I'm saying so. Let's say so. If I walk into a room and it's cold, I get goosebumps and I might start to shiver. Okay, they are symptoms. The body has selected that particular mechanism in order to resolve the problem of being in a cold room. Okay. Yes, it's a positive thing. We might not like having goosebumps and feeling shivery, but it is the best possible response to walking into a cold room. Okay, but I take that one step further. If we encounter a bug, okay, and we start having a fever and response, it is the best possible response the human body can do in order to deal with the pathogen. So, and so basically, if you came to see me at that point, I am going to give you a remedy that allows you to do your fever even more brightly.
Okay.
Now,
so
what
you
that does
do
is
have to feel worse.
yes.
before
So
you
it accelerates you through the natural healing process.
Okay.
It's just that. It's like there will be a bell curve. Yes, if you were, I think I might even have drawn one earlier on. Maybe I'll show it up to a piece of paper. I thought I did. Draw something up.
Okay.
It's a rubbish drawing now. I can't even show that. Okay. So, but imagine, so if we start on a day-to-day basis, we always have a few symptoms. I suspect even now, you sitting in the chair, there's probably the odd ache, pain, itch, tension somewhere in the body. Yes. So we are never symptom free. And everybody always has symptoms running all the time. And we accept that as okay. When and the body's constantly trying to readjust the whole time, and the symptom pictures slightly change according to when and where we are. Heartbeat accelerates as we're walking down the street, or we get hot, or we sweat because the room's too warm. All of those things are natural, appropriate responses. When we encounter an illness, so the body goes, okay, I need to get hotter in order to, I mean, the West would say, in order to kill the bug. Yes, what happens if we get hot? The sort of metabolic processes start working in favor of the human more than they do the bacteria. That's the idea. So the bacteria starts to be there to function less well under hot conditions, but the body can function really pretty well still. So it's never going to kill itself.
Okay.
It's just going, okay, what I now need to do is get really hot. If you came to see me at that moment in time, I would give you a remedy that just allows you to briefly exaggerate that picture.
So I will be even colder. Okay. But what about, I'm coming back to schizophrenia. What about hearing voices? And then you give the remedy and the voices become
louder, more
louder,
dominant in there.
and it will be impossible to deal with them.
Okay.
Should that person be with someone just in case for a few
I would
hours?
say probably.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't. Yes, yeah, it's sort of tricky. So let's say there's a remedy that's zinc. Okay, it's a homeopathic remedy. It's a bit different from the sort of zinc taken.
Okay.
But basically, zinc has as a fundamental pattern the idea of having an external suppressed state where natural discharges we will see on a physical level, or actually natural eruptions, can't come out in the way that they normally should. So in our books, it's a remedy for failed chickenpox or failed measles eruptions. Yes, because you should have skin eruptions in a natural cycle. Yes, when you have measles or chickenpox, but and that's correct. It's better for the body to be able to come up and produce this stuff onto the skin. But there are certain times where that doesn't happen. The body might be too weak to be able to express that. You may be drugged so that the body cannot express those physical. And what happens in zinc, or the idea is that energy that comes in from the outside that causes the problem, yes, can't now come out again. And what happens is it starts to stimulate the nervous system on a core level, and they start becoming restless on a minor level. Yes, on a physical level, they may become restless, have some sort of cerebral inflammation. On a psychological level, they start to feel that there's something fundamentally wrong with themselves. And in its one of the people who took zinc started feeling like they were hearing voices, and the voices wanted to do bad things and say bad, filthy language. But their fear is, I don't like this, and they sit on it even more. But it's like, no, the voice, the thing that needs to come out, always needed to come out. So I would say zinc might work for psychological states where they have suppressed their true inner voice, which may be disruptive to society or another person, yes, but they need to say it, where everyone goes, no, you shouldn't say that, and I'm going to give you drugs to stop you saying those things.
That's amazing, actually.
Okay. Do you understand? So I believe so. There are. We all have, a truth of self. It doesn't mean that it's true for everything, but we have a truth we need to say, and when we are suppressed, that causes us problems. And I believe in some psychological state that can lead to sort of mental health states.
So, but otherwise, more or less, how long that will take? And
what if I gave some? I have a schizophrenic patient, and I give a remedy. I would anticipate that you would get some sort of, if the remedy is close enough, it could be within 24 hours to 10 days, so depending.
To 10 days. Yeah.
Oh, what the negative? Sorry, that uptick. Yeah. No, the uptick usually would mostly last sort of, I'd say, 1 to 3 days.
Okay, and when you mention 10 days, you think it will start.
Sorry, the 10 days is by that time. I would hope that there might be an exaggerated state. Yeah. But I do want to say that the exaggerated state thing isn't that common in homeopathy. Okay. Sometimes it is. Okay. But I would also say it's
with me it's always.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I would rather say, rather than a worsening, it is an increased awareness of the state that you are actually in.
So you think I made up?
No. I'm just saying that, for most of the time, you've ignored what's going on. Yes, because you're busy and you're doing stuff. Yes, and then suddenly I give you a remedy, and I'm just going, no. Here is what's really going on at a core level all day, every day, and now you can't ignore it. Essentially, and that's what the body wants to do. So for me, the body is always trying to express the state all the time, but we have busy lives. Yes, culture says you can't do this, religion says don't feel that, all of those sorts of things. Yes, but the body's like, no, but I want to go pull a funny face, yes, or I want to shout, or I want to sort of fart. Yeah, so whatever it happens, I just want to do those things, and suddenly I'm being told I'm not allowed to, or it's wrong or bad, and then so where does all that? So the energy then starts coming out in a less healthy way.
So how? Okay, for example, what I wanted to ask you, for example, some herbs, they cannot go with psychotic drugs. Yeah, it's very bad. And nobody really knows which ones. We just know few, not all of them. Will that be case in any remedies in homeopathy?
No. It's all about the individualization. Okay. It's like the closer I get with a remedy that has a similar sort of aspect, the more likely I am to produce some sort of symptom state in you. Always slight caveats. Let's say that I have a headache. Okay. It's possible. So, one patient may come to see me just because they've got a very intense headache. The whole pattern underneath might be something big, broad, the idea being suppressed or whatever it is, but the headache is quite superficial.
But what if I'm on drugs? Doctor's drugs.
For me,
it doesn't matter?
Yeah, it really does matter. For me as a homeopath, because it's like...
It doesn't matter.
No, it really does.
Oh, it does matter.
For me, it's problematic because basically Western medicine is all about controlling the body. Yes, it basically says the body is a machine, a chemical machine. It's gone wrong. I need to just add chemicals to make it work better or more efficient or whatever it is. And the trouble is, it's saying the humans know better than the body. The body's been around millions of years. It's been field tested for millions and millions and millions of years. If it wants to make you have a rash, yes, or wants to make you irritated, it really does want to make you do that. And if you don't do that, you're working essentially against the body. And Western medicine is absolutely about essentially saying, no, we don't like what you're doing. You're too hot. I'm going to make you cold. Yes. You have a fever. I'm going to give you a drug that stops you being able to produce a fever. You've got inflammation. I'll give you steroids that stop your body being able to produce inflammation. It's like, why did the body want to produce inflammation? That's the question. Yes, it wants to do it for a particular reason. And unless you understand the whole of the picture, you're just doing partials. And you're doing partials with drugs that can have catastrophic side effects.
That's really, I would like to ask you a question, but don't answer.
No, it's fine. Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
would you think that somebody with schizophrenia, whatever,
Yeah.
they're giving us all the names, should actually not take drugs? Difficult, I know.
Yeah, no, it is I thought about that this morning because
Yeah.
I'm sure I was assuming that was going to be a question at some point. I would the reason why some schizophrenics are given drugs is for society's sake.
All of them, actually.
Yeah.
They cannot be in any place. Yeah.
So, I mean, in the 70s in England, it's like they had proper sort of psychiatry. Well, they probably did that too. But I had a friend who used to work in one of the big, I can't remember what it was called, but it was like a big place.
Mm-mm.
And it was a walled place, so they couldn't really get, but had huge gardens. And he said in those days, people were just wandering around. Even schizophrenics were wandering around. There was less, I mean, there were probably other horrible things that happened to them, yes, but nonetheless, there was a lot more freedom because they were self-contained and everyone accepted that. It's a very different world now.
Yeah.
We had, in the UK, we had, basically opening up psychiatric units and in the 80s and sort of late 80s and putting everyone care in the community, they called it, was a lack of care in the community, because there just weren't any so people got put back in. I know that the West says that schizophrenia is an organic condition. In other words, it's because there are physical brain changes that produce schizophrenia. My feeling is I suspect.
Is this so?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But my feeling is I suspect if you looked at 20 people with schizophrenia, you'll find that all of their symptom states and their actual anxieties and expressions are very different. There's a similarity. Yes, they hear voices, and the West is terrified, particularly of the voices thing. For some, I as yet understand. I don't really understand why. I hear voices all the time. I mean, I presume most people do, don't they? You're talking to yourself. Yes, a lot of the time. So it seems a bit weird to say, oh, well, that voice, don't listen to that one. And then my feeling is, so I also feel part of it is a disengagement with the natural self. And my feeling is I would tackling schizophrenia earlier without medication, I think might prove more useful, but we don't. It tends to manifest later on, yes, usually sort of early teens and adolescence onwards. But I think if you took a good case, you would know before. I would also say that cultural things and religion, is a problem. Anything that sort of massively sets self against self, good, bad, evil, devil, all of that language plays to a sort of schizophrenic psychology in a sort of really negative way.
Well, all of us really.
All of us. I agree, but I feel they're more vulnerable for whatever reason, yes, to that particular sort of dialogue, the conflict inherent, the moral conflict inherent in those two things. And religion doesn't really address that. To me, it just says there's good and bad, where I would say natural is the only good for me as a practitioner, as a health sort of thing. That's
you tell me, what do you think that there is so many people who would like to either reduce medication or stop altogether?
Yeah.
And it's terribly difficult.
Very, very,
very difficult. So now, can homeopathy help with that? To reduce those awful symptoms, withdrawals?
Yeah, I would say yes. I mean, homeopathy can. And there are definitely better people out there doing that work, because I know that there are homeopaths who do specifically sort of that sort of withdrawal stuff. I have a much more general practice, so I tend to see less of it. But yes, I have given remedies for people suffering from withdrawal from various different drugs. It's a problem because we're mixing up a Western thing, and it's like, yes, they do need to withdraw, but some of the drugs have long-term potentially catastrophic effects, like epilepsy medications produces epilepsy. and convulsive states, even after you stopped them. So and it's like, I'm sort of, for me, I find it slightly, am I just treating the effects of the drugs, or am I treating them? Because my preferred option is to treat them.
Oh, I see.
Rather than the drug effects. But that's where homeopathy, to me, or for my own personal practice, it becomes slightly more problematic. My feeling is that at that point in withdrawal, you need doctors, yes, not using medication so much, and sort of psychological practitioners who are there to support them. The trouble is, there just isn't the support to come off, because no one really wants to do it. Because what happens next? Yes, are they well enough to go back in? There are no halfway houses between the pathways from being medicated to being unmedicated, because the West just goes, no, you should be medicated, that's it. There isn't really an argument. And it's easier for the West, to me, or that conventional model, because the danger of letting somebody out who may cause harm, obviously they can't do that. So it's the whole thing on that side of it is tricky. Although I still wonder, thinking about your question about coming off medication and when you could start treating, I wonder whether a lot of the uptick in sort of schizophrenia or the sort of mental health issues is not because of the very sort of structures by which we choose to live as human beings now. I think there might be places in the world where, if they grew up in more natural environments, where they could, and less culturally bound ones, but maybe though, I mean, I have no evidence for this. I'm not just saying that. I'm just saying that I feel that perhaps there are spaces for them.
Is there any? Do you know of any doctor who would actually work with homeopathy? No,
Not now. There were when I was
a
at
psychiatrist who
well, I mean, that's
consider?
sort of interesting. I think some would on the sly.
Okay.
Yes, they wouldn't do it publicly, and they wouldn't be able to do it in the UK. You wouldn't be able to do it.
Oh, not in England.
No, no, they wouldn't be able to do it publicly. So I know one of the top psychiatrists in Brighton.
Okay.
Yeah, he was interested in homeopathy as a
Really?
person. Yeah, and he's gone from sectioning people he used to when he was younger and said, I don't do that anymore.
Really? He still works as a
Yeah.
does he's working as a private?
No, it was I don't think so. I know, I'm not sure now whether he's in it Brighton per se or he moves, but he was a big deal in his sort of day, and sort of so yes. And when I was working at the children's clinic, we had the chief paediatric consultant for Brighton's children's thing coming down for meetings with us at Dolphin House to talk about alternative practice. Homeopathy as
do you think that may be what can we do to change that, to make it that doctors could work? Because if doctor would work with homeopath,
I think we get that. Well, we know they do. I mean, to be fair, that has been demonstrated. So, let's say for people, there have been, and these are documented studies that have shown that there is, if you are going through cancer treatments and you take homeopathy alongside those treatments, your outcomes are better.
okay. So actually, doesn't matter those drugs they take.
Doesn't matter. No.
If they take homeopathy anyway,
you still have better.
Have better.
Yeah.
And then if they would want to reduce a little bit, again, the homeopathy can help.
Yes, it's there. I mean, to me, homeopathy is just pro-patient. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to support you in whatever you choose to do. I will always be saying, try to live your life in accordance with the way that the body wants you to do it, because that is what health is, and that, to me, and that's what homeopathy worships at the altar of. What your body needs you to do is what you need to do. Your boss might not want you to do it. Your husband might not want to do it. Your parents might not want to do it, but your body really needs you to do it. So
it's quite difficult with somebody who is very restricted with the mental illness, or even who is really, really depressed, like cannot get up from bed.
Okay, so to me, again, homeopathy would say that there is a reason why the depression is a response to something. It's not the problem. The West say the depression is the response. It isn't. The problem is that there is an issue on the table of which the current, because they can't see it in another frame. The only option is to be depressed.
Oh, see.
And it is the best possible option at
Okay.
that moment in time. But the thing is, I would say, yeah, you're not going deep enough.
So with the remedy, that person will get even more depressed if it's possible.
If it's possible, it's a bit more like no. I would say they would reveal, like you, in that moment. Yes, it's like no. I'm just confronting you with the thing that was always there, and until you fully experience the state, and that might be utter despair.
Okay.
You can't move through it. The body says, okay, you've encountered event X. You just need to do, let's say, be really humiliated.
Okay.
Okay, and you go, I know, I'm better than that. I'm not going to do humiliation. It's like the body goes, doesn't matter, it's too late. You've been humiliated. So the only option is to go, oh my God, I'm so stupid. I am really embarrassing. How ashamed. Yes, properly inhabit that state. And that's it. And then we don't know what happens.
Possible with mental illness, you think?
I absolutely do think that, yes.
Okay, so we just can hope that maybe one day the doctors will not say that this is placebo. And please tell us in the end that it isn't a placebo, because
Absolutely
how
not.
the animals are, that was my argument with my doctor, that the cow does not really,
No, I mean, there is, it's really difficult. It's like there is, and I don't think I'm being a conspiracy theorist about this, there genuinely is a sort of directed attack on homeopathy by, I would say, conventional medicine. I'd put it at the pharmaceutical industry, but generally, and science in general. But I would also say there is a sort of an unholy alliance between capitalism and Western science that skews science hugely. So within that dynamic, I'm bearing in mind homeopathy is the second most used medical system on the planet.
Which one is first?
Western medicine.
Oh, you mean I just thought the best.
No, the second most. So, which is interesting because it's like, okay, so
not herbs, not vitamins,
no. Worldwide, homeopathy is used more than because South America uses it.
Okay.
India is bigger. All the big population densities that use sort of homeopathy. Even in Europe still, so Germany, France, they're still sort of advocates of it. It's so America not, and by extension, therefore, the UK, the infiltration of the pharmaceutical industry and the power that they wield has made it so. From their side of the fence, they would say, but we prove things, we measure. So there's a part of me goes, I absolutely agree with that, except that 70%, or in the sort of the journal that I read, 70% of all your trials are not peer reviewed. So that's a little tricky to say that you are above board in all causes. But my that's a whole sort of another argument to be had. My feeling is that ultimately the bottom line drive of homeopathy that says that there is a non-physical aspect of health, it really says we're not just a bag of chemicals. Okay? I don't believe I can be reduced to the chemical constituency of who I am. And I don't believe that the chemical model that the pharmaceutical industry and Western science currently operates under is the ultimate model of reality. To me, the biggest single sort of thorn in their side is that they can't explain consciousness. And no one has ever been able to put enough chemicals.
Based on spiritual as well.
Well, I'm funny about the word spiritual. I'm just going to say non-physical, okay, for the moment. But, there are no amount of chemicals you can put in a pot and stir to create consciousness.
Okay.
They just aren't. So if you can't explain consciousness using your model and consciousness exists, your model is faulty. Okay, so in homeopathy... So because homeopathy does allow the existence of consciousness, to me, and it's to me that perhaps this is, but I'm not speaking for all homeopaths at this point, right? Because we're getting super theoretical. I would argue that the sort of the substrate of consciousness and the most deep aspect of self. So we have mental health, sort of physical health, yes. Underneath that, there is something that expresses itself through both aspects. And that, to me, is a more like consciousness in the sense that it is not a physical quotient.
But then if you go that far,
yes, we're drifting quite a way. Yeah,
we're so far.
yeah.
So maybe somebody with the mental illness choose to be for a while there to teach other people.
Teach other people? What are they teaching other people?
Well, my son illness teach me so much. Actually, so much. How to be a better person.
I agree. I think meeting someone who's suffering and having
to be actually happy, whatever I have.
Yes.
That I can watch the stars.
Yeah.
And he cannot.
Yeah.
He doesn't have, he's not aware.
Yeah.
So I'm so grateful for that. But I would give everything. All the people I met, just that he's well. Yeah. But again, if we're going that far, maybe we shouldn't fight so much.
Agreed. 100% agree. I mean, to me, ultimately, the world's a mystery. Genuinely believe that, and I don't. Even though I might sound like I do, I don't feel like I know, and I worship at the altar of not knowing. I don't know what's going to happen when we're going to die, but you don't know what's going to happen when we're going to die. No, but I do mean that, because it's like no one knows, and the problem with Western science now is it absolutely says that it knows, and I'm telling you, it absolutely doesn't. It knows within a very, very narrow framework. It's like saying, if all the world was made of atoms or chemicals, I know all about it. It's like, yeah, you do, if that was the case. And also, let's say your experience of life is not a chemical one.
Definitely not.
So my feeling is that, look, when people come to see me, the thing they're worrying about is not their chemistry. They're worried about their life, their relationships to life, their relationships with other people, how they view those things, and their obviously their aches and their pains. And I'm trying to unify. Homeopathy unifies as best as it can your physical state with your psychological state, and gives you some way of going, how I would go. It's like I'm walking around like this the whole time, and everything I do is like this. And then again, why have I got aches in my arms? Why have I got relationship problems? Yes, it's because in my relationships I'm sort of muscular, and it's like, okay, and it's like there's nothing wrong with that. Homeopathy says there's nothing wrong with who you are. It's just you don't know that you are it.
Okay.
And I'm going to give you a drug that makes you fully realise that you're like this in life, and I don't know where you go next with that. Do you understand? It's like my job is not, if you're depressed, my job is not to make you happy at all. I'm going to give you a drug that makes you connect fully, ideally, and express that state. But I don't know where you go next. You may get really angry, which is, in terms of even Western psychology, a common movement away from depression is to be angry. But it could be anything. Yes? You might go totally quiet for a month.
Okay, so
laugh. I don't know what it would be. Do you understand that? But my job is not to tell people where they go. It's just to go, this is where you are at. And I'm going to give you a remedy that fundamentally, as I see it, makes you realize and experience the place that you are actually in, like in that brief, exaggerated moment for you. Yes? Yes. That it's not new to you. I didn't give you a new experience, did I?
No. It's always happened to me. That's why I knew.
Yes.
That more I suffer, so to speak, and that really, but then better will get.
It's like allowing you to go through it with a sort of. Do you know what I mean? It's like, okay, I'm going to give myself permission to experience what's really there, and it's like. But, so much of our lives are spent fighting. Well, we're trained from a very early age, I would argue, to ignore issues and feelings for other goals. And I can't argue with that, in the sense that is what parenting is. Yes, to a great, you need to be socialized. You can't always hit people when they upset you. Yes, you can't always take your clothes off when you want to take your clothes off. All of those things. But it's like, yeah, you know, there's a balance to be struck between sort of permissiveness versus sort of suppressiveness.
So otherwise, homeopathy would be safe for people with mental illness.
I mean, it's so
It's not, they won't get like me. Because what I'm worried,
Oh, no, I hear the words. Yes, yeah, no, I
so I
understand.
knew what happened.
Yeah.
Even so, it was awful. But I was fully aware that I will get better. But somebody who is hearing voices,
May not
who
realise
is
that, yeah.
really miserable and will get even worse, and maybe go on the street and do something, or I don't know. You know how.
I don't think so,
Mm.
because I haven't seen it happen, to be fair.
Mm.
And the old school doctors who were so
Mm.
the old school homeopaths in the sort of the end of the 19th century, they saw schizophrenics, they saw people with cancer, they did everything.
Yeah.
And it's not, I don't, and they were working against people who were injecting, it's a very, very sort of different system. But I would say, the cases, they have lots of cases where they've given remedies and it hasn't worked.
Okay.
But it tends to just not work. And if you really think of it, to me, it's like, imagine that homeopathy says that the best possible outcomes are when the physical and the psychological thing stays mirrored and unified. You may experience that as a fearful state. Some people may not.
Yes.
I actually would say that even if you're worried, the body goes, finally.
Okay.
This is where I need to be. Yes. And you, as the rider on top of that body, might feel it's frightening, but it's all right. The trouble is, you may at that moment need to squawk, shout, I don't know. Think you're going to die? Yes. Genuinely think you're going to die. Yes, not like a little bit, but absolutely think I am going to die. And in that moment, only once you absolutely have confronted, maybe I am going to die, and I'm not. Do you understand? How else do I get you to that? To get you to that level of intense experience without getting you to that level of intense experience? Do you understand? I can't fake. I can't. We can talk about what happens if you die on a philosophical level.
No,
but it doesn't.
I know.
But it doesn't really cut. It doesn't. It's not the same as thinking or being in the moment where you are actually about to start. Well, that's my experience of having put my been in. I remember sort of. I got very bad kidney infection sort of a few years ago. Didn't take any remedies. Didn't take any remedies. I don't think. I did eventually got a friend to sort of look at my case. Didn't take any antibiotics, but I was hallucinating pretty much off sort of for 2 or 3 days of sort of very high fevers and feeling pretty crazy, and I couldn't urinate for 24 hours. That's quite bad. I mean, I know on a medical level that's really not very good. Huge amounts of pain, and then one night I was on the floor, I was looking at myself in the mirror, and I thought, I think I'm going to probably die. Really genuinely thought. And then, but simultaneously felt amazingly alive, like the most alive I've felt. And I'd accepted, like, okay, if this is how I go out, I'm all right with that.
Do you think?
But then I feel, but that was like the peak. Do you know what I mean? Like it peaked at that point, and having fully go, okay, I'm right on the raggedy edge. I felt like the body goes, this is where I need to take you, and now we can. But the body was in control, not me. And I absolutely know that for me, as a homeopath, homeopathy does not personally, I have to be really careful for other homeopaths, but I'm going to say that homeopathy does not promote life extension. Homeopathy is about letting you live the most in accordance with your natural self as possible. Okay. But it doesn't go, that's going to give you 85 years.
Okay.
There are no guarantees. Homeopathy is just like, it's a natural, I'm exaggerating the natural processes in you as best as I possibly can. and because I actually think the natural processes are infinitely better than human-led ones.
Okay.
But if you accept that as a model, it's the body might go, it doesn't care for you on the individual level. Ultimately, there's one bit of it that does, but nature, like life and death, is all part and parcel of the same sort of process.
So otherwise, the body doesn't care if it's got schizophrenia.
No.
So it's all right then.
Perhaps. It might be the best it can possibly do with the circumstances. The problem are the drugs, to me, the way in which it's handled and managed are really bad. There are loads of alternative studies done over many, many years, many drug-free ones that have produced better results. I mean, that is absolutely true.
Okay.
So yes, I do, but they may need housing in better ways. It might cost more money. To me, ultimately, it's an economic issue in the sense that we've got all these people who are difficult to treat and manage. We haven't got the financial resources to deal with that. We just make it basically semi-comatose for the rest of their lives. Job done. They're not a danger to society. That is what it is.
Okay.
Sorry, it's really depressing.
No. It's amazing. Actually, I understood so much more, and I love homeopathy even more.
Good.
But okay, so let's just hope that one day the homeopath and the psychiatrist could work together.
But in places, I still think that they are in more sort of less heavily state controlled, particularly in the health thing. There are definitely places in the world where those two things are going on. I've got so we've got the college got students, let's say from Romania and things. They
it's
can
a different story there. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They have so much more freedom. Do you know what I mean? And it's like because they just do. Other parts of the world, because homeopathy is the problem with the pharmaceutical industry, homeopathy is really cheap.
Oh, exactly. We didn't discuss.
So to me, because of the remedies, because they are so diluted, we are still using, for example, the same. I think so. There was a remedy made, sound really weird, from a spider that was captured in Cuba. It was killed in Cuba and put into a glass of alcohol. The bottle broke on the trip. This is in the 1880s. On the trip home, and then they ended up having a partially rotted spider. Now this is where homeopathy is weird. Okay, for some reason, somebody took some of that rotted spider and made it into a remedy.
Wow!
And we're still using the original samples from that.
So there is no expiry date, but that's always written.
And yes, and it's like we only need one spider would provide billions of remedies. So the trouble is the drugs.
I will catch them for you.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. But what that means is, it's like the emphasis on the money is not on the drug itself or the remedy itself. There's little money to be made in that. Yes.
Yeah.
Which is the biggest single problem for the pharmaceutical industry. When I would say that is why they don't want anyone to really seriously consider homeopathy, because it utterly undermines that fiscal model that they have. But the money then would have to be spent on the practitioners themselves, because and remember, and as a model, as a state model, that means that when you go and see the doctor, you don't get 6 minutes.
You get 7.
Well, yeah, but as a homeopath, I couldn't do my job in 6 minutes at all. Do you understand? So I'd have to have an hour. It's like there are too many people.
So, ending that conversation, please tell us in the end if schizophrenic person with schizophrenia, let's say, sitting next to you, how do you explain homeopathy to him or her in very short, because it cannot listen for a very long time, to make him take it?
Okay. What would I say? Okay, I'm going to come back to the outside of that question in a minute. I would be saying that I'm going to give you a remedy that essentially speaks to the sort of the
remedy, and you will
substance.
say a remedy or medicine or what?
Well, it's a remedy. Okay, if you say it is a medication of sorts, except it from the conventional side of it would have nothing in it.
Oh, you tell him that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm all right with that. It's like,
Okay.
my feeling is with schizophrenics, well, I say with anybody, but particularly with schizophrenics,
You would
being
say
utterly
something.
truthful
Okay.
has to be your go-to dialogue. You can't be tricksy or lie, because they're already caught, to me,
Of
in
course.
that on a really fundamental level. The trouble is they're in a system that
Yeah,
continually
yeah.
doesn't treat them honestly. And so my feeling is like part of the therapy has to be brutal honesty.
Okay.
Why do if you ask me why do I doing this? It's like, well, because I want to make them feel better by helping you.
But if it's nothing in it, how can you help me?
Well, no, there is something in it. It's just not physical.
Okay.
I would say there's a pattern, an energetic, I don't like using the word energy, but there's an energetic pattern in you, which I'm trying to match to the perceived energetic pattern I see in you. The better match I get, the better you will start to feel.
Okay. Okay. No, that's actually
Is that right?
very, yeah. Well, thank you very much for this. Thank you. And yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for talking to me.